my channel. I'm Doris and I'm here to share with you about the updates in my stock account. Today my stock account has earned $960. Nasdaq fell 2.4% for the week. The Federal Reserve has warned those who invest in cryptocurrencies to be prepared for zero assets. In my stock account page, today the PL is 0.92% or $648.75 including the post-market price. The total loss in my account is $29,678.57. SQQQ today rose for 2.05% to 36.87, and the DRV made a loss of 0.45% to 41.4. In the market has shown a combination of performance today. Dow Jones Industrial Average rose for 0.45%. Nasdaq Composite decreased for 0.61%, and the S&P 500 rose for 0.22%. The auto industry ETF decreased for 3.49% due to the decline of Tesla. Auto application rose for 2.3%. Oil and gas rose for 3.46%. At the same time, entertainment decreased for 2.56%. Within a period of 2 days, Tesla has rose with a spike to $214 and decreased today to $192.89, which is a total decrease of 0.07%. Just by today, Tesla decreased for 5.03%. All three major indexes posted loss this week. Investors continue to monitor earnings and the Fed policy outlook. Shares fell more than 36%. All three major U.S. indexes fell for the week, with the Dow down 0.17% for the week, S&P 500 down 1.1%, and the Nasdaq down 2.4%. The latest overall poor earnings report weighed on U.S. stocks on Friday. Shares of ride-hailing service Lyft fell 36.4% after reporting disappointing fiscal fourth quarter results. Expedia down 8.6% as the company reported earnings and revenue below market expectations. Markets are still assessing the Fed outlook for monetary policy. On Thursday, Richmond Fed President James Barkett said the Fed still had a long way to go, and it was crucial to continue raising interest rates to ensure that inflation was to be brought back to its 2% target. Chief strategist at Solus Alternative Management said investors continue to ignore signals that the Fed will continue to tighten monetary policy, he said. Overall, both equity and the credit markets are ignoring something like a soft landing, and potential that interest rate policy is increasingly unlikely to return to normal. Deutsche believes the benchmark treasury yield could rise to 4.2% as the economy recovers from the downturn by the end of the year. Any recession in the United States is likely to be temporary, said Christian Norton, and the Fed will not cut interest rates this year because inflation remains high. Fed officials spoke Friday included Fed Governor Christopher Waller and the Philadelphia Fed Governor Patrick Harker. Harker puts the policy outlook on inflation data. It takes several years to reduce inflation back to 2%. U.S. unemployment rate peaked at 4.45% before monetary easing, not expected to cause a recession. Uncertain peak rates above 5% will ultimately depend on economic data. The inverted treasury yield curve is unlikely to be a sign of recession, and the Fed balance sheet is a key part of monetary policy. Not sure when it will end. Markets remain strong, confident that the Fed will reduce inflation to 2%. On Friday, Federal Reserve Governor Waller warned that cryptocurrencies are nothing more than a speculative asset with no intrinsic value, and that investors should be prepared to zero their assets, and that financial investors should and that financial institutions involved in the sector have additional responsibility for fraud. At a cryptocurrency conference in La Jolla, California, Waller said that banks involved in cryptocurrency asset-related activities face a key task of meeting know your customers and anti-money laundering requirements, which cannot be ignored. Waller reminded investors, if people want to invest in such assets, go ahead. I will not do that. If you buy a cryptocurrency asset and its price has fallen to zero at some point, don't be surprised and don't expect taxpayers to share your losses. He stressed that the spillover effects of cryptocurrency over the broader financial system are minimal, but the regulators must ensure that the financial risks associated with the cryptocurrency are mitigated. The cryptocurrency market has been in sharp turmoil in recent months, with the cryptocurrency industry taking a series of hits, including the collapse of a cryptocurrency and its sister currency, and the implosion of exchange FTX. But cryptocurrencies have recently rebounded, as markets expect the Fed will stop rate hike cycle and possibly cut rates this year. Driven by optimism, Bitcoin briefly hit its highest level since last August. The same meeting, Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) Chairman Jan Gensler also said that cryptocurrency companies usually do not comply with SEC rules, and that cryptocurrency pledge transactions pose a risk to investors because they lack the necessary disclosure. Gensler noted that cryptocurrency company needs to take good care of their customer assets, and that the SEC is working with other regulators on cryptocurrency regulation. Last week, Berkshire Hathaway's vice chairman, Charlie Munger, also urged the U.S. government to ban cryptocurrencies, arguing that the lack of regulation has led to an intolerable excess and gambling mentality. Munger said, cryptocurrency is a bet and gambling has almost 100% average advantage. The United States should now have enacted a new federal law banning cryptocurrencies. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and like. See you next episode.